Good afternoon, Inspector, and thank you for accepting to hear my statement and observations. My name is Cormac McKay. I'm a long-time campaigner for local democracy reform and have advocated for the proposed directly elected mayor for Dublin for quite some time. I helped establish the Citizens' Assembly to ask Dubliners how they would like their city run. I have recently graduated with a postgraduate certificate for climate entrepreneurship and enterprise development from Trinity College Dublin, as well as recently obtaining a certificate for sustainable development goals and international law from the University of Cambridge. I'm currently the spokesperson for AIRV, which is the Autonomous Electric Road and Air Vehicle Association of Ireland, campaigning for autonomous electric shared mobility adoption in Ireland. And I am a registered, independent, unpaid lobbyist for the Irish government. I have lobbied for legislation to allow for the deployment of autonomous vehicles on Irish roads, and this is now included in our current road traffic bill. I have contributed to a number of public consultations on transport, road safety, environmental and health benefits from transport technology adoption. And being a self-declared potential candidate for the position of directly elected mayor, I have attended a number of public meetings with regards to transport proposals for Dublin. The Citizens' Assembly for Dublin was ran the year before last, and one of its number one recommendations was that responsibility and accountability for transport and traffic in the Greater Dublin area be devolved from the current National Transport Authority and TII and devolved to the office of directly elected mayor, with that mayor having responsibility for the traffic in the GDA area. I have investigated all possible future transport options that could solve Dublin's traffic problems with the developments in transport technology and the benefits they will have, with realistic, desirable behavioural change expectations in mind. If I were to present a transport development proposal and policy that would be palatable to the electorate as a potential candidate for directly elected mayor, that would also meet our climate goals and seriously tackle noise and air pollution issues in the whole city. With this in mind, I would have to declare I would not be a supporter of the current proposed disjointed compromise transport proposals, including Bus Connects and this Metrolink proposal. This is because current and future developments in transport technology and what will be commonplace in the coming years would not consider the best use of taxpayers' money and tackling the urgent climate adaptation needs. Also, I don't consider demolishing people's homes in the middle of a housing crisis a very sensible thing to do, and the way these residents have been treated has been far from desirable and has exposed the state and taxpayers to compensation claims for emotional distress, regardless of whether this proposal is approved or not. The way they have been treated has been very unfair. In fact, the whole process of how consultation is conducted has been, in my opinion, unacceptable. And I find this very expensive process, including these proceedings, with the past few weeks of observations proving the point people are not happy with how it's conducted and have to go to great lengths to be heard, and some unfortunately ending up in the courts at great expense to all involved. The way we have done public consultation in this city has become a bit of a consultative dictatorship, and the nature with regards for no regard for the stress and emotional well-being of those affected. In my observations, I find it highly disappointing and highly surprising that none of the large station blocks that are extremely expensive and time-consuming to construct have any housing included in the design. not only to help pay for the actual construction, but to provide high-density housing. This seems an extremely poor design choice, considering the need for high-density housing to be located beside public transport in these highly sought-after locations. I do wonder, is this because of noise and vibration concerns when it comes to railways and trams? A number of health studies around the world, which are now well-known health concerns, have indicated that they have serious health effects on heart health, and those living beside railways and tram lines are more likely to develop dementia and Alzheimer's due to disturbed sleep at vital nighttime and early morning times, leading to high blood pressure and stress. This would affect residents not just above stations, but the whole route along the line. And this could mean housing beside these noise and vibrations may be issued by responsible authorities a health warning to require that those housing may not have any long-term residence. Those involved in studying or jobs that require sound sleep, such as pilots living beside it, and would render those housing only suitable for short-stay residents, such as younger tourists in good health. This would be especially concerning during the construction phase, because this project plans to use a large, very slow, high-vibrating TBM. This is now seriously recognised and warned by the World Health Organization. And in the future, the EU may set stricter rules when it comes to noise and vibration tolerances to prevent our health system from being inundated. And
the noise and vibration is a Module 1 issue, and I think we were here on Module 1 on the last day when I said that I want to raise any more Module 1 issues.
Well, it's more the health impact I want to raise.
But I don't talk about health, but in terms of noise and vibration, we've moved on from that now.
And are you aware of the effect of vibrations leading to Alzheimer's? Just bring that to your attention.
Yeah.
So I'll move on from that point. One of the reasons why we don't have any 24-hour train and tram services is because of this noise and vibrations, and why this probably can't have a 24-hour operations. And I would hope it is taken on board. It's also in my observations, I find it disappointing that there is no vertical integration to reduce costs when it comes to construction materials for tunnel and station concrete sections, and also spoil coming from the tunnels. And a commercially sensitive deal has been done with a third party. Such a project like this, I think, would warrant its own quarry and recycling of spoil to insulate itself from inflation, price volatility, unexpected third-party bankruptcies that have plagued other construction projects, leading to out-of-control budget increases. Also noted is there is no plan on return to the community, such as free bricks for social housing or bricks to sell using tunnel spoil as another avenue of income to reduce costs, which has been done by other tunnel projects around the world. I also don't see any planned practice of carbon capture and sequestration. This is something that has been adopted by Kulsaran using carbon cure technology. This is where carbon is incorporated into concrete and sequesters caption. I would recommend this would be used and will be a requirement of all future projects involving concrete in building in Ireland, and not just on this one. And just on tunnel spoil, I have raised concerns about soil contamination at Dublin Airport with recent discoveries of large quantities of PFS, which are forever chemicals.
Hydrogeology is Module 1, and you're here on Module 1 that says they want to raise any more issues in relation these toilets?
I would recommend that third parties would inspect these soil contaminations and dispose of them. In fact, I find the relationship between TNI, the NTA, and potential preferred bidders and contract winners, in my own opinion, can only be described as inappropriate, bordering on cartel-like behaviour, with some of these consultants, engineering companies, and the whole cottage industry having very little regard for taxpayers' money, even contempt for these proceedings, with works and contracts being commissioned before board approval. This is something we must learn from that have happened on other projects, such as Crossrail, the Elizabeth Line, and the HS2 in the UK, and our very own National Children's Hospital, and not make these same mistakes again and again. Clearly, the Children's Hospital was granted permission, and conditions and recommendations were not clearly laid out by this board to address these concerns and taxpayers' money. I do hope the board has learned your lesson and will be placing crystal clear more guidelines to prevent these possible cost overruns and insulate the taxpayer from out-of-control spending, and demand that these global companies stick to their commitments on price or face serious consequences and large fines for failure to complete granting of these projects. I do understand political pressure has been placed on the board, and considering the taxpayers' money spent so far on previous projects, the abandoned Metro North proposal, the underground DART, this new half-abandoned Metrolink proposal, with very little prospect of this taxpayers' money being recovered from the consultants and work commissioned. This has become a bit of a political joke by broken promises. Every political party and politician for the past 50 years. And the people of Dublin saying it's very highly unlikely to happen, or I'll be 6 feet under when it does. But politicians are not experts, and the reality of a project like this is why it may not happen, and why it has not happened up until now. Unlike London and other high-density cities with high population, as highlighted by the Jaspers report, which is now probably out of date, and the whole business case, due to world events and inflation concerns, that has concerned me so much that I actually met with the Office of the Comptroller and Auditor General to raise my concerns and to educate the Office on transport technology developments coming in the coming years. Dublin's low population density can't justify underground projects like this. It just doesn't make economic sense. One of the justifications is transport to and from the airport, with the Swords dead end added on. It doesn't connect to the existing DART lines to the north or east of the airport. And also, it has very poorly located stations away from large population residential areas in Swords and retail locations in Swords. A poor design choice with no high density housing included, requiring people in Swords to travel to these inconveniently located stations. The Pavilion Centre 1 in particular is quite some distance walk from the shopping centre if you were carrying shopping or had small children with you. The same can be said of the Dublin Airport location, which is out past the short-term car park. A very poor location in my opinion. If it was my decision, I would have put it in between Terminals 1 and 2, inside the building envelope, reducing the walking distance. This should have been a priority consideration, especially for the disability community and predicted ageing demographic, which by 2034 is expected to increase dramatically, and just doesn't seem to have been a consideration. This kind of poor design and disjointed inconvenience is one of the reasons people dislike and find traditional public transport extremely stressful. And this has been highlighted by members of the public and our older persons community at a number of meetings of Bus Connects. And to quote one member, "It's okay for you young people jumping up and down and making multiple changes from bus to bus or bus to train. We just can't do it anymore. We have to use taxis." Personally, I have a background in healthcare, working in a doctor's surgery, and also I was a live-in carer for a number of years. So older persons are front and centre of my considerations, and not just an afterthought in transport plans, with door-to-door transport being a priority for these users. By 2034, the proposed delivery date of this project, the world will be a very different place. Transport technology will have developed quite some bit, with the electrification of transport, automation, intelligence transport planning and design, and management. And this hasn't seemed to have been considered by this project. Its 20th century transport solutions